Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Palestine here. I'd like to say happy Father's Day. Today is Father's Day in the UK, and we're going to be going out to a restaurant with my boyfriend's 2 children today, which is why I'm wearing a dress. Because I don't wear a lot of dresses because I have to take the bus and walk, and it's not really convenient for me to get all dressed up. So normally I wear jeggings or trousers or leggings or something like that. But since it's a special occasion, it's Father's Day, I put on a dress. I also got a text message this morning saying that I've used 80 of my 100 minutes to ring my mother, and said I'll have to pay standard rate from now on. So that means I've got to ring up my telephone provider and find out when my minutes are going to be refreshed, so I can find out when I can start phoning again. So I'm not very happy about that. And of course, they want me to buy more minutes, which I don't want to do that. I only phone my mother about once a week, so I don't phone her that much. So I'm not sure where I spent all this money on, but I'm going to ring my network provider and talk to them about that. But that's not the reason for this video, because I started my channel to talk about all of my awful experiences that I've lived through. And really, I haven't lived through them because I've got cancer now. And I think that I got cancer from stress. But what I noticed during the week, and I made a video about it a while ago, was I made a video about where I live, how I was being harassed by the people I live with, and they were doing things inside and outside of my apartment to cause trouble for me and even get me sectioned. And I do recall making a video talking about that. Well, it's just this week I noticed that where I live, the building I live in, you've got BMWs, you've got Audis, you've got Mercedes. Okay, so I supposedly live in a council estate, and these buildings that I live in are for vulnerable people, people on low income, and they keep the rent low so people can afford it. And in addition to that, right across the street from me is an old folks home, and at the top of the street is another building that you have to be over 55 to live in that building. And so it's a council estate. There's lots of council properties on this estate. So people who live here are supposed to be low income. So if that's the case, what are we doing with BMWs, Audis, and Mercedes on my street? And that harks back to a time when I did actually make a video saying that the people I lived with were harassing me. And I said I'm not going to say what they did. The reason why I'm not going to say what they did is because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. I don't want somebody to find out where I live and decide to go do all the things that these people did. And so that's why I'm not saying what they did. But I remember putting something on Facebook saying about the drug dealers, because on the street I live in was notorious in the town I live in for drug dealing, and it was actually occurring right across the street from one of the apartments that I lived in, and probably right across the street from where I'm living now. And I think I made a comment on Facebook about the drug dealers are off the street or something like that. And my sister posted something, and it may not even have been her. It may have been just somebody using her account saying, well, they may have gone into a different type of crime. And I think that's probably what happened, because the people who were selling recreational drugs are criminals, because in the UK, recreational drugs for the most part are illegal. And so since they're criminals, so when they got the drugs off the street or off the road that I live in, they weren't just gonna go clean, go straight. They were gonna find a different type of crime. And so now that we've got Audis, Mercedes, what else did I say? BMWs on my street, that tells me that they've not gone straight. You know, what are they doing? Are you doing with cars like that in a council estate? So that tells me that they're still committing criminal acts, but they're just doing something different. And I know that in my case in particular, I think that the harassment I endured, it could have been partially racial. They probably enjoyed doing it because I'm not the race that they are. But I do believe that it was financial as well, because I can't believe somebody would put themselves out to harm another person unless they were going to get something financial about it. But having said that, if it was racially motivated, then yeah, they would have done it just because they got a kick out of harming somebody who wasn't the same race that they were. And I'm not going to say the race that they are because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. The only thing that I'm going to say is they weren't the same. I'm not the same race that they are. But I still do believe it's financial. I believe that they took their criminal activities elsewhere, and I think that they decided to go into financial crime. And I think that insurance policies, I think that an insurance policy was taken out on me and my boyfriend, because I remember one instance in particular when I first started seeing my boyfriend. We were walking down the street. Well, my boyfriend had actually lived in this apartment complex before I did, but he moved out. And so we were walking across the street, and one of my neighbors said, "Oh, are you together? Oh, that's good, that's good, that's great." And then so there were actually things done in my apartment that would have harmed him in particular. And then another incident, this same person came up to me. I was late going into work because I had a meeting. And she said, "Oh, are you on your way to work?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And because she chased me down the street to ask me. And I said, "Yes, I am." She goes, "Okay, I'll catch up with you later." She had no intention of catching up with me. She never caught up with me. She never had much to say to me. But that was just another incident. I think that they believed they were going into my apartment when I was at work, and they were intending to go into my apartment that particular day. But because I was late going in because I had an appointment, they couldn't go into my apartment. So they wanted to find out, was I on my way to work? I'm surprised that they didn't even ask me what my work schedule was. So I do believe that the people I live with were involved in the harassment. I believe it could have been partially racial, but I also believe it was financial. I believe they got something financial out of it, especially when you look at these BMWs, Mercedes, and Audis in the building, parked outside the building where I live in. People on low incomes don't drive those kind of cars, or I don't think they do anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video because I'm getting ready to go to church. This business with these expensive cars parked outside my building sort of got to me and sort of reaffirmed my belief that the people I live with are on the wrong side of the law. So if you like my video, please like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching my video and listening to my thoughts and having a little empathy for the really terrible experiences that I've had. And as I said, I can't tell you the things that these people did because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. Thank you again.